What's up, YouTube? So I got one more story for you today. Um, the story about the time that my dad showed up in my dream. I was probably about 10, maybe 10 or 11 at the time. I might have been 11. This was in the early 90s. Let me give you some background. I was born in California. I was born to addictive parents. I won't say drugs because they did both. And long story short, I didn't get to spend much time of my life with my actual parents. I was raised by my aunt, who I call my mom. So when you hear other stories of me saying my mom, that was my aunt, my dad's sister, who raised me. But I love her as my mom, and she loves me as her daughter. Plus, I look just like her. So, but yeah, back to the story. So out of my dad's time here on Earth, or my time here on Earth with my dad, I probably spent a year's time with him in California. But that story is for another day. But it was shortly after I left California and came back to Massachusetts that my dad ended up passing away. He had been diagnosed with cancer. He had cancer of the spine. They went in for exploratory surgery. And he died on the table during anesthesia. That was rough. But as a child, I didn't know, all the details that I know now back then. But, yeah, so I was probably, 10, 11-ish. It was a school night. I think it was a Sunday night. Sunday or a Monday. And I was going to bed, to get ready for school the next day. And in my dream, my dad came and he sat on the end of my bed. And he told me everything was going to be all right. And I was like, Dad, what are you doing here? Like, what are you doing in my dream? And he was just explaining to me how much he loved me. And he was so sorry, and that everything was going to be all right. That's all he kept telling me over and over. Everything's going to be all right. Everything's going to be all right. The next day, it clicked. After, I heard my mom on the phone. She was upset. And I think my mom had asked my sister to tell me, even though my sister really didn't want to tell me. But I knew when they kept me out of school that day that, that's what the conversation was going to be. So, my sister had brought me for a car ride. I think we were going to McDonald's or ice cream, or I don't even remember. But I remember her trying to build up to this conversation of how she was going to tell me. But I blew her socks off because I was like, she was like, I got to tell you something. And I was like, I already know. And she, coming from a 10-year-old to a teenager, what? You already know what? And I was like, about my dad. You're going to tell me about my dad. And she was like, all confused, in a state of disbelief. But I think any teenager would be. Because I'm just that person who, yeah, what'd you just say? How do you even know? But yeah, I didn't tell them till later on in life, as usual, because I don't tell people stuff right away when things like that happen to me, because that's been happening my whole life. I didn't tell her until we were older that, yeah, my dad came and he told me that, he was gone. And I think that was one of those beautiful moments, because everybody always says, you know, when we're raised Baptist or Christian, you know, to other people, that's a demonic thing. You can't talk to spirits, which, I mean, I'm learning now that, yeah, there is familiar spirits who come around. Yeah, we're not supposed to associate with them. But there are times when God will allow a certain person who passed away to come and speak to you, but through his way, not through them just showing up and talking to you, because I tend to get those. But from God allowing them to give you their last message, because that's their last message that they requested in heaven before they pass, you know, over to the other side, and they can't come back and communicate with you, or they're not supposed to come back and communicate with you. That's how it works. Yeah, so I figured I'd share the story about how my dad showed up. And as a kid, I mean, it wasn't a big deal to me, but now that I'm older, I'm like, wow, just looking back on all these stories of how, like, God showed up or allowed certain things to happen in my life, or how I knew certain things, or how I was ushered in to the pain, but not in a way that it would have been so traumatic for me, because I've had that special moment. Like, if I didn't have this divine interaction, would everything be different? Would my life have been different? Would I have gone in a different direction, rather than having that moment of peace and clarity and understanding from my dad saying he loved me, and that, you know, he was so sorry. You know, there was nothing he could do, obviously, but yeah, I figured I'd share another one of my moments, because I have many. Hope this touches someone. Have a blessed day.